So now we are moving on to our retail panel segment, and I'd like to introduce our facilitator, Anthony Macca Wilson. So Macca hails from Port Macquarie in New South Wales, and he is not only our SBIA president. Macca is also the managing director at Wilson Retail Co., which includes retail stores Saltwater Wine, Storm Riders, and Red Herring. Joining Macca will be our panelists Ian Woolley McPherson and Kevmo Morris. So dialing in from Western Australia, Ian Woolley McPherson, also an SBIA board member, is the owner of Star Surf and Skate. Woolley's been surfing in Mandurah since he was a kid, and if he's not chasing the best break or reviewing surfboard, he's teaching others how to surf, coaching and aspiring pro surfers, and sharing tips at his surf shop, Star Surf and Skate. Star Surf and Skate has also been owned and operated by Woolley since 1998. Joining us from South Jersey, USA is Kevmo Morris, who is the buyer for Heritage Surf and Sport. Kevmo has been surfing since 1979. He is an NG Surfing Hall of Fame inductee, the class of 2023, and Kevmo is the buyer for Heritage Surf and Sport, which has 4 locations in southern New Jersey. He's also the president and co-founder of the South Jersey Board Riders Club. Kevmo has worked in the retail surf industry since 1984 and is continually involved in the purchase, sale, and performance of surfboards. He has worked with many highly respected shapers throughout his career, developing board models that cater to the local surf community. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to Macca, Woolley, and Kevmo.
Thanks, Lenny. Good morning, good evening, gentlemen. How's that beer going, Kevmo?
Oh yeah, it's epic. Thanks. Cheers, boys.
a bit early on this side of the pond. Morning, Woolley.
Morning, Macca. How are you?
Good. So you two met on a Quicksilver trip to Surf Ranch, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah, we were at a Young Guns event with Quicksilver at Surf Ranch, and yeah, we got on a couple beers the night before, and then got a surf in. It was good time.
Good. And the romance bloomed, hey?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Forever.
What did you just quickly? What did you think of the Surf Ranch wave?
What do you think, Woolley?
Oh, it was mental. So good, so much fun. It was a great couple of days watching the event, and then being able to surf ourselves in there. It was pretty epic. We just need more waves. That's the thing with that one, I reckon. Just needs to generate more waves rather than have a 4-minute lag in the middle where you're sitting around stressing, wondering when your next turn's coming up. But it's epic. The actual ride itself, super fun.
Yeah, it's very, very precious. Very, very precious view.
Yeah.
Good though.
Cool. All right, let's jump into some questions for both of you. So Eric spoke about the drop off in Hardgoods sales from 2021 to 2022. I think it was 13%, and Q1 is down 26%. Is that reflected in what you're seeing, Kevmo?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's about proper and what we're seeing up in the Northeast. I know he showed a bit of the slides from Hawaii, West Coast and Southeast, but we're seeing roughly the same exact type trends. Soft surfboards in particular were definitely down at a pretty big clip. And exactly what he was saying is that, those participants haven't come back in the space. So what kind of happened with like longboard skateboards or something like that, where like every house in your community has these boards, they just sit around. They don't need to come and replace them so quickly. So a lot of the families have those boards already, and then they sit on them, and then they're not coming back in to get back to the next level. And I think that that's our challenge now today is how do we get those people to be full-time surfers and not just pedestrian?
Yeah, good point. And Woolley, while we don't have Action Watch data in Australia, is that reflective of what you've seen?
I don't think it's as bad as that, not for us and not from people that I talk to. I don't think the hard goods have been hit that hard compared to this time last year. I know most of the guys I talk to are flat or even marginally up, but softboards are definitely taking a hit. There's no doubt about that. That's an area. We're seeing growth out of other areas like board covers. Like covers have been obviously pretty slow to move due to the lack of travel, international travel. And then this year, once the borders have opened up, we've seen, doubles, triples, quad covers and travel covers sort of go nuts. So even though some areas are down, there's areas that are up as well.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. I'll back that up, Macca, for sure. We're seeing the same thing, from the Northeast, people going to Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and they're definitely much more travel opening up. So those surf accessories like covers and things like that are working well.
Yeah, cool. And that obviously makes sense. And as Eric mentioned, we are weather farmers, and like personally, I've seen the effects of East Coast lows here on Australia, and we've had rubbish surf for a long period where I am, and that's impacted. That's reflected in what you guys are seeing?
What do you think in the surf?
Yeah, if the weather, like the weather conditions that Eric spoke about affecting sales.
Yeah, I mean, we had a fairly mild winter this year, and in the Northeast, it wasn't as gnarly as usual, but it's just a matter of people really now are traveling, so there is definitely movement a little bit where we're having the performance side of it is definitely moving a bit, where guys are buying boards in the more high performance realm than, like I said, that soft surfboard market when it's, our water temperatures get down to 40 degrees. So, 40 Fahrenheit. So you're going to knock out all those like I said, like pedestrian users, they're not going to be out there, hardcore going out in those winter months. So.
Yeah, cool. And the, we've heard about it, particularly in skate, the glut of inventory and what effect that's having. Has that been as impactful in the surf hardgoods categories, Wooly, would you say?
I think there's been a glut in certain things like rubber. Definitely, there's definitely excesses of rubber around right now. Seems like the locally produced performance boards are on top of it now, instead of, during COVID, we were waiting up to 4 or 5 months sometimes for a custom board to come through. It seems to be back into a pre-COVID level of anywhere from sort of 4 to 8 weeks for an Aussie made board to come through, which is good because it was a big drama, those lag times with the Aussie produced stuff. That was a nightmare over COVID. I think there's probably still a lot of boards kicking around on shop floors. I know I'm carrying more inventory than normal, and I see that in other stores as well. So that then slows down what we're bringing in, which then backlogs back to the wholesalers. So there's still issues there, but I think everyone's sort of working pretty closely to work through those. And I reckon over the next 12 months, we should see that sort of clean up. I reckon it seems to be getting there. It's improving.
Yeah, cool. And Kevmo, are you similar situation?
Yeah, I would echo what Wooly's saying for sure. Similar situation. We definitely are full. Inventory is full, no doubt. We're coming into our summer season. That's when we see our most people coming in, and we're actually seeing in this second quarter positive movement for sure in the space. There's people coming back to us after being introduced as a late adopter type thing, and they're actually coming in and trying to become like an actual surfer, which is, from my opinion, that's a really good thing for what I see, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So in Australia, we've seen some pretty rapid fire price rises in boards. Is that something that you've seen in the US as well?
There's a bit of an elevated cost, but more importantly, I think it's just the overall inflation problems that we have. You know, most people are dealing with, you know, more expensive to drive anywhere or, you know, buy groceries, whatever. So that their income isn't going as far as it used to. So as a result, they're not necessarily coming back to the shop as quickly to purchase hard goods. You know, when it comes to hard goods in the States, we've actually been, our shop in particular has been bringing in more elevated product, like a Christensen or an album, something like that. It's got an elevated price point, but it's a little more exclusive to not distributed as much. So it's actually helped, you know, as Patagonia got into the space for soft goods, it's helped to actually elevate and have people feel good about that elevation in price as well. If y'all have everything kind of the same as like a, you know, Lost Surfboard and all the sameness of price points, I think it's a challenge to get the consumer to come up to that bigger price point. But it gives a little bit of room now for that elevated price point.
Cool. And Wally, do you think the price rise are impacting board sales?
No, I don't think it's been impacting sales. I think most people understood that jump up, especially with the Aussie made stuff, but even some of the imported epoxy stuff has gone up, you know, $100 or more. So I don't see it hurting. And while some of the brands increased the retail, it was good to see they increased some margin for us guys as well. So we're always open to that one. If they're increasing the prices and we get a little bit more margin, well, that definitely helps things, doesn't it?
And you're a retailer, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a retailer.
We love that.
We're going to pay for that space somehow. So I don't. It was a big lick for some of the brands. You know, we basically, you know, Aussie dollars. Some of the brands were sitting around 800 to 850, and then all of a sudden, you can't find an Aussie made board for under 950, $1,000. So it was a pretty big jump. But I think at the time was right, and all the brands kind of did it, with, you know, to a degree. And I don't think it actually hurt unit sales for us. It just, I personally think Aussie made boards have been undervalued, underpriced at retail for a long, long time. I don't think they've even kept up with inflation. So I think for what goes into a board, I think they need to be that price minimum.
Yeah, cool. And Kevmo, are you seeing any influence on so the US is ahead of the curve for Australia in terms of the wave pools and the proliferation of them, although there's a lot happening in the space in Australia now. There's, you know, one being built in Sydney, another one about to start in north of Sydney, and then Perth is also, you know, coming online later this year. Are you seeing wave pools, you know, influence board designs and what people are buying or looking for?
I think we're just a little outside of that so far. We're definitely seeing people travel to those wave pools, and they're figuring out like, hey, certain boards work, certain boards don't work. But I don't see someone actually coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to a wave pool, I need to purchase this board for this wave pool. I think it's more of a kind of a bolt-on type thing where that's just like kind of a luxury, so to speak. And hopefully whatever they have can facilitate what works out front as well.
Cool. And Wally, you're the frothing grommet of wave pools in Australia. Are you seeing any or your own personal experience?
Yeah, we're starting to see crew. I've got a few guys that shop with us regularly, and they're traveling to Melbourne, so they're doing the 4-hour flight over and going to the pool regularly. There's a couple of guys here, and they're coming in talking and buying boards now specifically to surf in the pool, which is great because it shows what can happen once we get that one here in WA in Perth. That'll be epic because I think for me, I see the EPS stuff really working well in the pools. And I think we're going to see guys that are traditionally using a lot of PU boards, probably if they're getting addicted to the pool, then I think they're going to be turned into an EPS epoxy customer as well. So I think down the track, there's going to be some really good growth out of that. And then also, you know, they're running running lessons in there. So we're going to be growing the population. Participation is going to go up around those pools as well. So I think it's going to be good for anyone selling hard goods around a region where a pool's dropped, for sure.
Cool. And if you could change one thing about, the surfboard, what would it be?
One thing. Geez,
Yep.
that's
if you could change
one thing.
Kev, you go.
One thing about the surfboard. Well, I think a bit more specialty and exclusivity for retail. That's one of the things that I think would be awesome to see elevated for us, is that manufacturers actually drive business in the doors of retailers with models that are only sold with us, instead of getting them, online or direct, DTC. I think that's really important, because what that does is it creates that sense of community in the store, where you get to communicate around, the most core part of what we do, and that's the surfboard. So it's really important that all those things kind of come together. We have a story to talk about at the shop level, and that would be the one thing I would definitely change.
Ian?
Yep, have to agree with that one. Didn't think of that, did I? But yeah, the direct-to-consumer model of boards can be quite painful, especially if someone walks in the store and goes, "Oh, I just bought this one online," and you've got it sitting there on your shop floor, and he comes and picks up boards, accessories like that. I'd always shake my head at that one. Why not check your local surf store first before you go and buy online, but then come and pick all your accessories up in the store? So that doesn't happen super regularly, but I had a guy last week do the same thing through a brand that we stock really well in the store. So that's a bit disappointing when that sort of stuff happens. And, we've got the investment there with all the stock sitting on their floor for people to touch and feel. So yeah, definitely makes it easier for the guy to come into the local store, and hopefully we see more of that and less of the direct-to-consumer stuff. Definitely.
Cool.
But even, Wooly, real quick, is, he's doing all these board reviews and things like that. He's investing his time into doing that experience for the consumer. It's really important that he's supported from that standpoint, because it takes time and it's commitment,
Yeah, definitely.
Not to mention it's a lot of fun, Kevmo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we
not supposed to say that.
get to see your head all the time. Okay, last question to wrap it up. If you could predict one thing about the future of surf and surfboards, what would it be? Kevmo.
So I think it's going to be technological advancement. And so as we see like Dark Arts and the Black Sheep from Lost coming on board, those are the things that are going to actually project us into the future, and seeing how light and strong surfboards can get. It's going to be pretty interesting and fun.
Ian?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's in the technology, especially a lot of the EPS and epoxy stuff, and now the carbon element of that as well. Also think fins. I think we're going to keep seeing fins change, and I think the technology that's there, I don't think we're utilising, or the general punter's not utilising a lot of the technology that's in the fins already. So I think for me, playing around with a lot of fins and trying to work out which fins and templates work on best on what tail shapes, and I think passing on that knowledge to the general consumer that's coming through the store, I think that'll open up a lot more sales in that area. I think fins are such a good add-on, and I just don't think a lot of people understand what and how to sell them, and how that's going to help the end consumer by putting them on the right fins, because it makes a massive difference to your boards, especially with certain tail shapes.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we'll hand back to Lyndall. Thanks, guys, for the chat. It was good to meet you, Kevmo. And we'll
Good to meet you, Maka.